Afternoon, guys. It's Workin, bringing you an update on. Actually, we're going to be looking at a couple cryptocurrencies today. I had a couple requests for Steem and also for Dash. We're going to be looking at both of those. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. We're looking at Steem to start off with. Steem to Bitcoin, 4-hour chart on Bitfinex, guys. Or excuse me, we're looking at Bittrex. Sorry about that, guys. Had to check my nose there, or my phone there. So Steem dropped down here, guys. We hit this demand zone down here, created some structure, created a ascending support line here. Steem ended up taking off here. This was all due to the coming fork here. Price did end up coming up, hitting this supply zone up here between 15.6k Satoshi, 15,000 Satoshi, and then just completely dropped down. Found some support here at 13.1k. Recently just fell below that zone. That was a support line. Now is acting as resistance. Price is trying to break above it. And here we sit, just trying to claw above this zone. We're approaching this ascending support line here. Should act as support. It's going to be very telling as we kind of reach this apex here, as price is getting squeezed up here. Whether or not I do believe we're going to see either a break, either price is going to come back up here, test once again this zone up here at 14.3 to 13.8, or price is going to just fall right over. If it does fall over, I do believe if I come over here and look at the daily chart here and zoom in, what do we see? We can see a very good, we can see how price, as it before it just exploded here. What do we have? We have wick, and then it just kind of carried on up here. So what does that tell you? That tells you there's a lot of sell orders that are sitting down here, guys. So this is a decent demand zone sitting right here. Very decent demand zone from, actually it probably goes up a little bit higher right about there. So sitting from about 12.5k Satoshi down all the way down to about 12.1 thousand Satoshi. That's about where that demand zone is, guys. If it does break below that, I do expect it to come back down, possibly test that. There should be some buy orders sitting in that zone, so possibly coming down, hitting that zone. If I was looking to buy some Steem, a decent area to possibly start laddering in your buys would be right in this zone right here. Again, between about this one, I'd go a little bit lower than the top of that zone, be a little conservative, about 12.4 all the way down to about 12.1 K Satoshi, somewhere thereabouts, guys. Wouldn't be a bad place to buy. However, that would be a little bit risky. Your risk to reward is going to be deep because isn't going to be that great, because you're still going to have this resistance area at about 13.1k Satoshi. Much better buy, even though it may do that, guys, and you may end up missing out. And like I said, if you wanted, this isn't financial advice at all. If you wanted to stack in a couple buy orders there, not a bad idea. But where I'd be very interested in buying is if that does end up breaking down. If it does break down below 12,100 Satoshi, I do think it'll be a very quick drop down to this zone down here. Pardon me. Let me come out here to the back into the 4-hour. So you guys can see a little bit better. I do think it'll end up falling, free falling, possibly all the way down to this demand zone down here, starting at about 11,000 Satoshi, goes down to about 9.8. If in fact it does end up, falling down there, guys, I would have buy orders stacked between about 11,000 and 10,000 Satoshi, somewhere thereabouts, guys. Would be a good buy for a very, very good buy for Steem, if it does get down there. And again, guys, it may never see there. This thing could end up taking off. So if you wanted to slowly start dollar cost average into your position, not a bad idea at all. But again, guys, make sure you have fiat on the side, because if it does end up dropping to these lower price points, you do want to be able to have some fiat to take advantage of that. Looking up, guys, if price does end up breaking up, I do think it's going to find some resistance at about 14.3 to 13.8. However, it was softened up by this move here. Pardon me. So even though I do think temporarily it might find some resistance, there is a very good chance, since we did have it soften up right there. Even though it was tested right here, we can definitely tell that is going to be some resistance there. But again, it was softened up. Some of those sell orders were taken out. So I do expect it, if we do come into this zone and start consolidating sideways, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign. At that point, guys, I'm going to be eyeing this area up here, the supply zone up here, between about 15.6k Satoshi and 15,000 K Satoshi. If we come over here and look at this area over here, price wick, fell down, came up, wick, and then just dropped right back down. Price came back up, very small wick, and then just dropped right back down. So there's a lot of sell orders that are sitting up here between about 15.6 and 15,000 Satoshi up in this zone here. But again, guys, we've got to break above this zone before it can get in there. And I do think that if it does break up, guys, price will hopefully, the most bearish scenario or bullish scenario, said bullish, would be price starts consolidating in here. If price comes up and rejects strongly off that zone, then we might be coming back down, crashing through 13.1 and coming back down to at least 12.1, possibly down to this demand zone down here. Checking our RSI. RSI sitting about neutral on the 4-hour. Looking at the daily, same thing, sitting about neutral, right around 50, somewhere thereabouts. If we look at the MACD, Let me go back to the 4-hour. Looking at the 4-hour MACD, last time I did STEAM, which admittedly was I don't know, it was about a week or two ago. I can't even remember. But I pointed this out again. This is on the 4-hour MACD. We can see the signal line and MACD line every time it's come back down. This is starting since mid-June. We've created a higher low. Kind of almost formed perfectly on this trend line, even though we were broken right here. It's still a series of higher lows all the way up, which does signal some strengthening momentum within STEAM. So let's see if that continues to hold. If we continue to get a higher low, it's going to be a very bullish sign. We come over here and we look at the daily. Daily MACD histogram is starting to trend down. Signal line and MACD line moving sideways, so a fairly neutral indication on both of those. We come out here and we look at our moving averages. This is what this is what I wanted to show you guys. Look, this is the 4-hour moving average on STEAM. We can see that the Bollinger Bands here are starting to bottleneck big time. I mean, serious bottlenecking here, guys. You don't see this very, very often, at least to this degree, and has been for some time. We can see that. Let me zoom in here. We can see that the 821 and 55-day EMA are all converging on top of one another here, guys. So once again, anytime you see anytime you see the 821 55-day EMA converging like this, you see Bollinger Bands converging like this, that is signifying a possible larger move. Now, oftentimes you see it in conjunction with some type of a wedge pattern. We are not seeing that on here, so I'm a little cautious to say we are going to see a larger move. However, we are seeing again this ascending support line here, which you can see much better on the 4-hour. This ascending support line here, which has been tested 1, 2, 3, 4 different times. We're waiting for a test here, and that is kind of creating this almost an apex to a wedge right in this zone right here, guys. So this may cause price to break in one direction or another. Again, we're gonna have to wait and see which way it goes. I told you guys if it breaks up or down where I expect it to go if that does happen. And this is not financial advice, but you should ladder in your buys accordingly if you are interested in buying STEAM. All right, coming over here to Dash. Let me find it on here. There we go. If I can bring it up here. Sorry, guys. All right, looking at Dash, guys. Zooming in here, this is on the 4-hour. We can see that Dash, looking at the bigger picture, is without question getting squeezed tighter and tighter within a wedge here, guys. We can see it's been tested numerous times top, numerous times on the bottom. No question we're getting squeezed inside a tighter and tighter wedge on Dash, which tells me that we are more than likely going to see a larger move. We're approaching that apex on that wedge now. Somewhere, or not now, but in the next few days, somewhere right in here, guys. Anytime, anywhere in there, guys, you can expect to see a larger move. Actually, anywhere before now and then, you're going to expect to see a larger move. Now, we are seeing it test the bottom of this zone here, showing a little bit of weakness. If we don't see price end up impulsing back up to at least test the top of this wedge again, it might just end up falling right back over, guys. We're getting the volume on Dash is a little bit weak. If it does end up falling over, I am expecting it to come down to this zone here at 173 to 170, or excuse me, 173 to 167. That's a decent area here, so there should be some sell orders here. We can see price came down. Once it broke up, price came down, tested it, put impulse right back up, came back down, a little wick, right back up. So this is a decent area. There are some buy orders sitting here, should act as a decent support. But if that does break down, if that support breaks down, guys, we do not find support again, and more than likely, price would drop. If it breaks 167, price would drop all the way down here to about 138 to 130. Now, I don't expect that to happen. I'm expecting this to hold for now, but it is something to be aware of. If you are looking to buy Dash, I would have buy orders sitting in here between about 170 and 167, 165, call it, and I would have a very tight stop sitting at about 162 to 160, somewhere thereabouts, guys, because if it does fall, it could fall quickly. Just a heads up. If it does end up breaking up, guys, we do have a little bit of a supply zone up here between 218 to 225. If I zoom in here, you can see it a little bit, guys. Price came up in here, wick, broke right down, creating a lot, signaling there are a lot of sell orders sitting between 218 and 225. So price may come up, hit this zone, and do a complete 180 and break right back down. If it does end up breaking above this zone, however, we can break above 225. I do think it'll be a very quick rise up to at least 245 up into this order block up here. And if we look at this order block up here, this is a very strong supply zone. There's a lot of sell orders sitting between 245 and 265, guys. We can see, as I said, guys, look up here, wick down, strong breakdown, we can see this a series of lower highs as it kind of came down and then eventually just fell right over. So there's a lot of sell orders sitting up in here, guys. The best thing that price does end up breaking up, and you do end up taking a buy on Dash, I would have my sell orders sitting up in here. If you did want to hold it, I would sell at least a portion of my holdings up here if you do buy down lower, at least a portion of it, and then maybe just take your profit, or maybe take your investment off the table, let the profits ride. If we do come in this zone and it starts consolidating sideways, again, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign. And at that point, we're consolidating sideways. I would expect it to at that point be preparing for a larger move up. If it does break up, guys, the next significant area of resistance starts at about 296 to about 315, somewhere thereabouts within that zone. Looking at our indicators on Dash, we look from point to point, guys. Clearly, obviously, this being a wedge, we can see that from this point here to the beginning of the wedge to the current price point, we created a higher low. If I come over here and I look at the histogram, let me kind of zoom in here a little bit, look at the MACD and look at the histogram, look at the exact same points on the chart. What do we have? We have a lower low, actually a series of lower lows. So clearly this is an uptrend. We're looking from point to point. I'm sorry, guys, I told you at the beginning of the wedge here, I was actually looking back here, guys. So if I look back here, from point to point, we make sure we're measuring apples to apples here. So from point to point, series of higher lows, and from point to point, series of lower lows on the histogram. Clearly, that's being an uptrend. So what do we got here? We've got hidden bearish or hidden bullish divergence, guys, suggesting that it might be bottoming out, suggesting price may end up testing or may end up moving up here very, very shortly, possibly only to test the top of this wedge, maybe breaking right back down, but up nonetheless. Now, it doesn't mean that has to happen. This is rather weak. I had to zoom in here very tight, and we're not seeing it on the RSI, so we're not getting that confirmation that I typically like to see on divergence, but on positive divergence, but still it's interesting nonetheless. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote, re-steam, or a like, depending on where you're viewing this. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.